Hi, I'm Kat Valyi, the CEO of CV Strategic Marketing Solutions, and this is the Healthcare Marketing Mindset Rehab. It's a space where we discuss how the right mindset and processes work together to help transform your marketing outcomes. And we also provide insight about ways to make you a better leader and entrepreneur. So, thank you for joining, and let's begin. Welcome and thanks for joining me today. I have a great guest. I've been following Dean on LinkedIn and listening to his lives and going on YouTube and seeing his information there. He's got a lot of great information to share, and I thought it would be a great episode to hear his point of view, hear some of the things he's talking about, and how you can incorporate it into your marketing. So, Dean, thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. And let's just jump in. And if you could tell the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll just start asking questions.
Hi, nice to be here. Hello from Kernersville, North Carolina. I might be the only person that anyone's going to see in Kernersville all day. So there you go. And which is basically Winston-Salem or Greensboro, North Carolina,
Okay.
in case anyone happens to know. I'm a copywriter. And if you've never worked or hired a copywriter, copywriters write stuff for businesses that the business's customers read. And if you randomly selected 100 copywriters and put them in a room, 95% of those folks write blog posts for clients, or they write short articles, they write social media posts, that kind of stuff. And a handful or so of that 100 will write what we call premiums. So if you've ever gone to a website and given them your name and email address so you can download, a PDF or a report or use cases or whatever, then there are folks who specialize in that. And then there's usually just one person in the room who does what I do. I write the first words that a prospect might ever see or hear. So a lot of headlines, home pages, but not the rest of the website, ads, speeches, that kind of stuff. So it's my job. Everyone else gets to assume there's some level of interest, even just a little bit of interest from the reader about the topic or even the company. I don't get to assume any of that. So I have to operate in that little 3 to 7 second space full of noise and distraction where I try to get someone's attention and then re-earn it every few seconds until I've got them long enough so they're sort of brought into the client's world. And then they read the stuff everyone else wrote.
I got it. So what made you focus on just that opening, that few seconds? What made you,
Oh,
focus?
it is. Yeah, focusing and specializing in basically audience attention. Right? It's the science of audience attention. It is the most difficult and compressed form of writing. Maybe, what someone else gets 500 words to say, I might only get 5 or 7 words to say. And it's just fascinating. It's the most interesting job in all of copywriting. And also, there pretty much anyone who speaks English can, try to do the other stuff. Whereas this is a skill set that takes a while to build up. But it's a lot of fun. It's the most interesting job, I think, in all of writing.
Do you start with a lot of words and then break it down to,
Yeah, normally how I do it
key
is I
down?
have an exercise that people go through of about 21 questions for every client. And it's questions as if someone who doesn't care much about you would ask you. And then and I sort of take them through those questions, and I'll pull out a little nugget from what they say here, or it'll give me an idea about that, and I'll make the notes. It's all just a shared Google Doc. And then at the end of it, I say, okay, you can go away now. And then, X amount of time later, I come back and say, here's the headline, here's the subheadline, here's the first thing you say, here's all the stuff. And I just lay it all out in a way so that someone who doesn't know you, but might be adjacent to your world, can be sort of brought into your world. And that's mostly B2B. I do virtually no B2C. So B2B is its own special set of challenges, even inside that special set of challenges, but I like it better.
Yeah, I love the B2B space too. But one of the things I always think about is that B2B can often be a little boring in that the way that um, a lot of companies approach it.
Mm.
What do you think about that, and how do you kind of stop that craziness? Because if you've only got a few seconds to say
Yeah,
something, you really, I guess, can't be boring because you're trying to grab
no,
somebody in. So,
yeah.
how do you change that dynamic, and how do you approach it?
Well, in all fairness, virtually all advertising and marketing is boring, right? You probably saw between Facebook and Google and podcasts and billboards and magazines and TV and radio and Twitter and whatever else, you probably saw 1,000 marketing messages yesterday, and I'd be astounded if you remembered 3.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them just didn't get your attention. They were background noise. And so it's hard to stand out in any field, B2C or B2B. But you're right in that B2B is even more challenging in that it's a very constrained space. There are lots of things. A lot of people who start off in consumer marketing come to B2B, and they feel like they're in a phone booth. If you remember what a phone booth was back in the day, right? They're in a closet. It's like there's no room to maneuver,
Right.
and they have to figure out how to make something interesting with a lot of the favorite tools that they have for consumer stuff taken away. Like, I'll give you an example. In B2B, there's no such thing as scarcity. Like, one of the things you see in advertising is, oh, there's limited space, or available for a limited time, or we have X number of seats available left to blah, 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 right? There's none of that in B2B, especially in sort of enterprise or bigger deal kind of, like 100,000 plus for every sale, right? And every customer that you talk to knows that if they wait 9 months and then say, hey, by the way, I want that discount you were offering 9 months ago, you're absolutely going to give it to them. Because if you don't, they're just going to go to a competitor. So there's no scarcity, which is one of the big drivers and there's also, for a lot of the time, no novelty, right? B2B companies, for the most part, do not make a lot of new products every quarter or every year. They sell the same thing over and over with various just incremental improvements. So yeah, it can feel, especially if you come from the consumer side, it can feel maddening to try to do something creative and make an impact on in a B2B space. And the other thing is that, similar to what you were saying, most companies, for one of 2 reasons, are afraid of being bold or making any sort of assertions. Partly because, I've had clients where the legal department had final say on every single word that I wrote before a prospect ever saw it. And then they're also sort of afraid of making assertions in that, there's a lot of variety and vagaries in business deals, and it's possible they might be called on something and have to deliver something that they didn't quite want to do. So it's very tricky to be able to make a bold claim. Basically, I get paid to make a bold claim, but hiding it in the copy and the headline in such a way so that as a reader, you think a bold claim was made, but there's nothing in the actual language that in court could ever get the company in trouble.
Yeah, and that's a tricky part, really.
Yeah.
When I worked in medical devices many years ago, and I'm still in the healthcare space, but especially in medical devices, I had to do what you did, was go through compliance and the legal
Yeah.
for anything, because anything I said, I had to have proof 100% behind it, which is,
Right.
you can't say the greatest, the best, or whatever. They were like,
Nope.
prove it. Okay. So it's like mostly great, but anyway.
Yeah.
So
And if you can't go out to an edge, then most of the interest level for a reader is taken out because there's
yeah,
nothing novel about this. Yeah, I
yeah,
know. I've been in meetings with lawyers where you do these status meetings, right? And they say, by the way, we need this claim taken out, and then you're back the next week, and they said, and it said, by the way, I thought we asked you to take out that claim, and I said I did take out that claim, and they said, no, we read it before the meeting, and it's there, and I say, show it to me, and they're like, I know it was here, I just read it an hour ago, but it's not there,
that's right.
right? It's in their head because I
Yeah,
put it there, but it's not on paper,
yeah,
and so they're not on the hook for it. It's tricky, but
yeah.
it's really interesting work.
It is interesting work. It is. So, if you had to share 3 to 5 ways that marketers could kind of extract, because you said you had this form, but if there was another trick that you could kind of share and kind of
Yeah.
condense it, like how do you get that juicy bits so you can help tell a better story in a B2B space? Because really, that's what everyone is doing. You said it really clearly. You read all day on LinkedIn, it's boring or it's the
Yeah.
same, a sea of sameness. How do you kind of step back? Like, let's say you're writing something. How do you step back and say, I've got to kind of, ratchet it up? What are you looking for to help?
So the tricky part of that is the first thing in all of B2B selling, there's one question that everyone who's reading your stuff, B2B marketing, and saying there's one question everyone who reads your stuff is an employee at an organization that you want to sell into, right? And every one of them has the exact same question in the back of their head, even if they never ask it, overtly. And it's this: how do I know it's safe for me to vouch for you at my company? Because B2B sales and B2B marketing is basically just taking a bunch of little steps, getting permission to come a little bit closer, and then getting permission to come a little bit closer, right? Nobody reads a brochure and then picks up the phone and orders $1 million MRI machine, right? There's like layers and layers of meetings and all kinds of stuff. And so the very first thing is figuring out how we answer the safety question, because that person, if they vouch for you to their manager, or the CEO vouches you to the board, right? Or some VP vouches to the CEO or the steering committee or whatever. And like you don't actually have it, like it's all vapor, like it's all fake. Or they go ahead and hire you or pay you or buy your thing, but then it takes 4 times as long and 8 times as much money to actually stand it up and get it to working than you said. Then that person, they'll lose reputation at work. They might lose out on a promotion track. They could, in theory, lose their entire income because they could get fired.
Yeah.
And they're not even spending their own money. So there's a level of skepticism that and sort of publicness about mistakes when they deal with vendors that is not there in a private sale, like a B2C sale. Mm-hmm. And so you have to approach it first and get all your ducks in a row for the safety question. They should never doubt that like you're a safe choice to let come closer, because they're going to look at multiple vendors. One of them is going to seem like the safer choice. I mean, this is where the old, way back in like the 50s and 60s, right? This is where nobody ever got fired for buying IBM kind of thing came in, right? They were the safe choice. You paid more, but they were the safe choice. No one, you weren't going to lose your job or not get a promotion because IBM was hired, that kind of thing. So you need to figure out the safety question and get that answered. But you can't stay on the safety question because it's boring. It's really boring, right? Mm-hmm. It's a hurdle that needs to be knocked down, but then you don't like stay there. You don't get purchased for the most part today because you're the safer option. You just get to go to the next level and talk to the next person in line, right? And then the big mistake people make, and it's not just, it's more prevalent in B2B actually than in B2C, is everyone wants to talk about themselves, right? And it sounds, well, of course, it's marketing, it's advertising. We're supposed to tell people what we're doing. But I mean, a stranger has maybe a thimbleful of attention for you wanting to talk about yourself. But as a prospect or a reader or listener, we have an ocean full of attention if you talk to us about us. And then you just sort of put yourself in our story. But everyone wants to fit in the thimble. They want the most compelling, best thing to fit in the thimble. And I said, like, why are you fighting this? They want you to talk about them. Talk about them. Talk about the negative present that they live in. Talk about the positive future you could shortcut them to if they buy your thing or give you money. But everyone wants to live in the little thimble. And everyone looks at everyone else's advertising and they're all in the little thimble. And so like, we want to be in the thimble too. And it's like, you want to swim in the tiniest possible pool. And then you're complaining that you can't stretch out or get any speed. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to tell them their story with you in it. Right. And then also there's sometimes you come across this idea that we can't spend very much on our marketing, or let me put it another way, because they can spend a ton of money. It can't look too good. It can't look too glossy. It can't look too slick, because vendors, customers might think that like we're wasteful with money, or we're not, we don't have our eye on the bottom line and that kind of stuff. But you do need to, I mean, technically it is wasteful. You need to waste a little bit of money on your marketing, in that like your photos need to look good and your color schemes need to look professionally put together and all that kind of stuff. And your copywriting needs to like read like a pro did it. Because it goes back a bit to the safety question, but also if you've got a little bit of money to waste on your marketing, it conveys that you're like successful already in your marketplace. No different than why, birds and flowers have, like they spend some of their very precious energy on things like, colorful feathers and beautiful petals and that kind of stuff. They need to attract. And to do that, they need to show that they're, vibrant and successful and a force in their field. And so you need to waste a little bit of money on, basically it's called costly signaling. You need to do some costly signaling in your realm.
Yeah, so I like that.
So
we got,
fun stuff.
We've got, what was the first one? It was The second one was don't be in the thimble, which I like. The
Right.
first one was
The
the
safety question.
safety
How do I know it's
question,
safe for me to vouch for
the
you in
safety
here?
question, which
Yeah.
is great. And the third is to spend a little on your marketing.
A little bit more. And then
Bit more.
ultimately you come down to assertiveness, right? There,
Yeah,
the last one is you need to assert things. You
yeah,
need simple declarative sentences, and you need enough of them that you can punctuate the blockier bits with something where you like stop and stare right here, because this
yeah.
is a tiny little nugget of truth and I'm standing on it. I absolutely believe this. We are the very best choice if you're A, B, and C, or your situation is 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. I
And
like
so getting
your
people to be assertive is tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I like your thought process around the fact that what marketing's job, especially in the B2B space, is helping you get closer. I call it
Yeah.
like reducing that trust deficit because they don't know you initially.
Yeah.
And you're trying to say, well, yeah, you do know me a little bit. Here, let me give you a little bit. And then they come closer and closer. And then you can get them to sales, where sales kind of wraps them in their
Right.
arms and then starts doing all, well, that sounds weird, starts
Yeah,
giving
I
them
know.
some insight, you know, getting them closer to the signing on the contract on the bottom line. And I think a lot of times some folks don't realize and they confuse B2B with B2C and they think, okay, once they see this great brochure and go to our website, surely they'll
Yeah.
buy.
All our work is done. Yeah.
Yes, which is really it's just getting them closer. And so that's an important, I think, aspect about B2B that is important to share. One of the things we didn't talk about is that you focus a lot also on CMOs, fractional CMOs,
Yeah.
helping them
Fractional
in
CMOs are the biggest single block of clients that I have. The fractional CMOs, probably every like small service business or even agency, there's some group of prospects that are switchboard prospects, as in like they're connected to lots of other businesses. And it's a lot more economical to focus on the switchboard instead of trying to reach out to every business that they're connected to. So for me, fractional CMOs, and to a similar but lesser degree, fractional COOs are my switchboard customers. Like I cultivate and I write for them and I help them get customers, because then when they get clients, they bring me in to do the same thing for the client that I did for them.
got it.
So it works out a lot. So yeah, a lot of my I mean, everyone in marketing and everyone who does marketing and sales has all the same problems. There's no difference. It's just a matter of scale and flavor, right? Whether you're selling $10 Barbie dolls or $1 million MRI machines. And so you do have a lot of the same stuff. But one thing I do tell the fractional CMOs is once you get hired, and ideally even before you get hired for an engagement, because in case anyone doesn't know, a fractional chief marketing officer is simply one who works for multiple clients at the same time. They're not just a full-time employee of one company. And there's a few different reasons why you might want a fractional one. Either you're at a stage in your business where you don't need or can afford an experienced full-time CMO as an employee, or a lot of fractional CMOs, they specialize. So they'll specialize in new product launches, or they'll specialize in just digital marketing and sort of standing up your first digital marketing. So they all specialize. So you might have a regular full-time CMO, but then hire a fractional CMO just to do one kind of thing, kind of stuff. And so one thing I tell those folks is go find whoever's in charge of sales and explain to that person that once you're done with sort of the big pieces that you need to create and put in place in your engagement, you're going to take whatever that is and you're going to convert that into like tactical things, tactical pieces of collateral that your salespeople can use to move the needle and get more meetings and get more demos and start driving the sales process. Because for the most part, you think about it as like sales is its own thing and then marketing is its own thing. And people always talk about aligning them. But the problem is, like a lot of decisions are made for every marketing piece. I'll give you an example that everyone knows. You're watching like a Hollywood movie and there's two people in that scene and they're talking, right? Everything in that picture is the product of a decision by a bunch of different people, from the director to the set designer to whoever, where the actors are standing. And they probably had them standing in different places so they can try stuff. And how it's lit. Is it daytime or nighttime? What clothes are they wearing? And what color are the clothes? And do they clash or do they match each other? Like every book on the bookshelf was picked for a reason, and every little knickknack and everything behind them. It's all part of the overall message. And marketing, most marketing is done like that, right? There's a reason we pick this color. There's a reason we use that font. There's a reason it's written in this way. There's a reason that it starts here and there's something there. So like all those decisions are made, but sales can't really use marketing collateral when they're in a meeting with 3 people in a little conference room and they're trying to get this person to let them move closer and closer and closer until the deal happens, right? And sales never has the expertise to even understand why marketing made certain decisions. And so that's why a lot of companies, their marketing stuff, the stuff they say to the whole market, is beautiful and like designed right down to a pixel. And then you look at what the salespeople are showing customers, and it is the ugliest, clumsiest, cheapest, most awkward looking stuff you've ever seen, because nobody bridges the gap. And so I tell the fractional CMOs, like, tell them that with my help or someone else, you're going to bridge the gap, and you're going to take that high level strategy type stuff and you're going to transform it into tactical stuff.
Right.
Because they don't even know how to ask the questions about why you made certain decisions. But it's very different talking to an entire market and talking to one person in a sales meeting.
Absolutely.
And but if you help sales, CMOs for the most part are probably have the shortest like lifespan in a company of anyone at the C-level, right? The CFO and the CEO tend to last for years, but the CMO is usually gone in 18 months or so, right? And it's a very tough position with a lot of churn. And I say there aren't, as a fractional CMO, there aren't a lot of CMOs that are going to smoke you if after a year, the head of sales comes and says, like, that person helps us move the needle. Even if the CEO is really not vibing with you, as a CMO, if sales vouches and says, like, they keep giving us stuff where, it's helping us persuade people to get in front of them and talk to us, like, why would they fire you? The board's going to ask the CEO, like, why? Like, do you not like money? Like, why would we upset this process when it seems to be working really well?
Yeah.
So yeah, I tell all the CMOs, stop thinking about just the marketing and move into sales and help them to, at least book meetings and demos, because, it's their job to take it from there. Marketing doesn't ever make a sale in B2B, but it should at least knock down the safety question and then help create the material that is going to be shown in small meetings to individuals.
Yeah, that's the whole concept of trying to take all that information and breaking it down into, I guess, usable information for the individual salespeople, because they can't just go in with a brochure and just like point it. What are they going to do with that? How are they going to incorporate those messages and those, like you were saying, the knickknacks and whatever into a presentation? And every presentation, depending on who the target audience is, because you have different target audiences within an organization, might need some a different idea. So I like that. So
I've been on the marketing side, I've been on the sales side, I've been the salesperson, and I've been in, I spent a lot of time in tech sales where I watch salespeople give presentations, and they'll throw up a slide that marketing made, and it just kills the entire flow in the room, because everyone knows it's all marketing fluff and has nothing to do with this meeting. You just wasted 4 minutes of my life trying to work through as a marketing slide. Terrible.
And it
Terrible.
should be transformed in something. And it should be, I also think that the best sales presentations I've seen are with people that have actually learned the information and learned how to deliver it. There's a practice. You have to practice, I think. And so they need to be familiar with whatever that messaging is so they can incorporate it easily. And it doesn't sound like, oh, let me just pick up this thing and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So that's a good point. I love it.
You do see an emerging, it's not that emerging, it's been around for maybe 15 years or so more, but it's really catching on now, is a discipline called sales enablement, where it's essentially, half the time I talk to a sales enablement team, and they're owned by marketing, and usually the other half the time they're owned by sales. But it's their job to understand those two disciplines and then create the material that that comes from marketing and make it. But it's still, still aren't, as a percentage, there aren't all that many companies that have sales enablement groups yet, but they all should.
Yeah. There really needs to be that connection. So tell me something that you want to share the most with this audience.
I think, and I operate this way, there's a big difference between creativity and creative thinking.
Okay, I agree.
And creativity is about insights, and creative thinking is ideas. And ideas are easy. They're cheap. You can put aside an hour and say, I'm going to come up with 25 ideas about X. And most of them are going to be junk, right?
Mhm.
But creativity is harder because it's insights, and insights are going to show up when they show up. They're going to show up when you're in the shower. They're going to show
Right.
up when you're walking the dog. They're going to show up when you're driving. You have very little control. And so I ended up writing a little app for my iPhone, and then it works on my tablet and it works on my laptop. A little app where as soon as like an insight comes to me or an idea, I just like tap on it and I can either type it in or talk. And then if I talk, it turns it into text in real time while I'm doing it. And then as soon as I click OK, it writes it to this text file. And then once a week, I go into the text file and it's all like, on Tuesday at 8:22 a.m., it was this. And then there's the little thing that I came up with. And I'll tell you, like, it is so crazy that every single week I look at that text file and I see a solution to a problem I had days ago that I still haven't solved. And turns out my brain fixed it. And it's just gone so fast from your head. Right. And there's always so much stuff bombarding us all the time. That stuff goes out of your head instantly. And your brain's like solving all these problems all the time. It's also why I never have writer's block. I have a text file with thousands of things in it to write about. Capture your insights.
Yeah.
Whatever way you do it, capture them all the time.
Yeah. I just have my Remarkable and also a like little notebook by my bed, because
Right.
I'll think of something. It always happens. I'll kind of wake up in the middle of the night and something, and I'm like, oh my God, what a great idea. And then
Yeah.
if I say to myself, I will remember it, I'm lying. Because when I wake up, I'll be like, what the heck was
Yeah,
that
I know,
thing?
right?
What? I know it was great. I know
Yeah.
it was great, but
We
if
think
I write it
future us is going to be
down,
so much better at everything than present us. And future us
yes,
is just a bum.
yes,
Right? Don't count on future us. They're the flakiest sibling you've ever had is the future you. Right. I mean, I will eat an extra slice of pizza when I shouldn't, right? And I will skip the gym once in a while, even though I know I need to go. But the only discipline I am absolutely ironclad on is that if I have an idea or an insight, I will record it at that moment, day or night, no matter how late or tired I am, just because it's the only habit that I need. It's like an 80-20, right? It makes a lot of other things unnecessary if I'm just like capturing the stuff as it comes to me.
yeah, and that's a good idea to get it.
Yeah.
I physically consolidate it, which is also okay for me because then I read it and I was, oh my God, I said that.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm too lazy
I'm
for
pretty
that.
smart.
Yeah.
But I think
I
that's a
don't
good
even do
idea
that
that it
much.
is. Yeah,
All my devices write to the exact same file. It's all
that's awesome.
synchronized by the cloud. And so it's all in one space forever. And it's searchable whenever I search on my PC or anything.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So okay. So what's your favorite marketing book? And I ask this because I love reading. I love just gathering information out there because I always think that there's always something to learn.
Right.
And is there something that you're reading now or read in the past that
Yeah.
you just thought this is a good marketing book?
The book I'm working through now and have been for the last couple of months is my favorite, and also the book I hate more than any other book I've ever read. I really hate this book. Like I almost have to force myself to pick it up. But there's this guy, he's long dead, called Eugene Schwartz, or Gene Schwartz, I think, to his friends. And he wrote a book that a lot of copywriters and advertising people have heard of called Breakthrough Advertising. He wrote it in like the 60s or something. But he wrote a second book that was basically just for copywriters, just for writers. And it's called The Brilliance Breakthrough. And it's terrible. Like, I despise this book so much. And here's why. I don't follow sports very much, and I don't know all that much about Tiger Woods, but I do know that some number of years ago, he sort of, he came out of the gate, right? And like, he was just fantastic. And then eventually all of like the next generation of folks and golfers caught up to him. And so he looked at that, and all of his personal life stuff aside, he looked at that and he said, like, what got me here is not going to get me to the next level. And so he hired this coach to break down his swing, his golf swing, and then rebuild it from scratch, which is basically just the process of training your muscles that are used to now doing it one way to do it a different way. And it's uncomfortable and it's tedious, and no one would like willingly sign up for it unless they knew that there was a payoff at the end. Brilliance Breakthrough from Gene Schwartz is like that for writing. It goes all the way back to the first thing you ever think you knew about writing a sentence in English. And it breaks it all down into just All words break into two categories. They're either a word that evokes an image or a word that connects words that evoke images. And that's it. And then it's just an endless series of exercises with all the various words in the English language to build up your swing again until you can write very, very clearly and persuasively with the fewest number of words. So I hate that book so much, but it is my favorite book of all time. I
Well,
despise it. If it was a person, I would smack them in the face and then I would hug them.
but I hate you, I love you. All right,
Yeah,
that's what
it
it
is
is.
very much a hate-love relationship with Brilliance Breakthrough. But I mean, if you're someone who has reached a level in your writing and said, like, the only way I'm going to like level up in this is to go back to the beginning and build up that muscle set from scratch, then it's that kind of book. I hate it. I love it. I hate it.
I guess I would
I
also.
don't even like talking about it. I hate it so much, but I love it.
Okay, we won't talk about it anymore. We won't talk. But this was a
Terrible
good
book.
conversation. I think that the folks got a few good nuggets out of
Sure.
here, and some of them. I mean, I learned a few things too. I'm definitely going to look into. I'm going to say Gene Schwartz, even though you hate him. I'm going to look into that book
Yeah.
because I think that.
As a warning, that book's like $200. Yeah.
Why is it big?
No, it's not big. It's just like hard to get. It's been out of print forever. Only one company now makes it. And so, but I
I'll
mean,
look on YouTube. There's always something somewhere. So
yeah, you find something on YouTube that explains it all for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So break down Gene Schwartz and we'll see. So
Yeah,
anyway, thanks so much. This was a great conversation.
sure.
I appreciate your time. I'm a fractional CMO and I'm also a marketing consultant for B2B companies. So I think the connection with sales and getting that connection with sales through marketing, because there's so much, this tends to be, and the reason there tends to be a stress between the two is that marketing is creating information for a
Right.
particular purpose that doesn't necessarily work specifically for sales. It has a
Nope.
purpose, and then you have to get people to understand the difference, but also help them, bridge the gap so this way they understand and that a brochure won't automatically sell a multi-million dollar MRI. It just
Right.
doesn't. Something has to happen. So anyway, thank you so much. Any
You're
last?
very welcome. It's fun.
Yeah, this was great.
Also, in case anyone happens to know what an MRI costs, I have no idea what an MRI costs. So I just said $1 million. It might be millions of dollars. Maybe the
I,
price came
I,
down.
I'm sure
Yeah,
they're just, really expensive, but thank you so much, Dean. I appreciate you. Can
sure.
you tell people where to find you if they need your fractional CMO kind of
Oh,
writing expertise?
my company is Waye Creative. So it's WAYE creative.com.
Yeah, great name, by the way. It just happens to work that way. Way creative. So thanks so much and to talking with you soon on the Healthcare Marketing Mindset Rehab. Again, I'm Kat Valyi. I'm the CEO of CV Strategic Marketing Solutions, and I help B2B healthcare organizations that are struggling with their marketing to change how they think about marketing, create better strategies and messaging. So this way, their brand can be elevated and their messaging can really hit and target the right audience. So if you need some help with your marketing in the B2B space, reach out to me. I'd love to chat. Thanks again and talk to you soon.